Oh, no, absolutely not. This was all just jamming on the spot. And thankfully, I've always been blessed with the ability to improvise and jam, with my love of blues and jazz music that aspect. So, no, that was the big bonus. They were, and it was incredible for me, as familiar with great musicians as I was, with all the bands I'd worked with. This was something else. This was extraterrestrial domain, the stuff that these guys were playing. It truly was a magical experience. And even more vivid now after working on this project, my memories and reconnecting with time, that I'm not Mr. Nostalgia, so I don't go, oh, those were the days, or anything like that. I truly appreciate every chapter of my life. But the more I got into the Purple album with the guys, the more I was reconnecting with vivid, clear images of way back when with Purple. It was amazing. Well, that was amazing because I was living at that time in an apartment over a discotheque, a nightclub kind of thing, in Redcar in North Yorkshire, right on the coast. And I never had a telephone. I didn't need one. For local stuff, I'd call up the guy who did the bookings and go, "Are we working this weekend?" Or so the only phone number I could give these guys was a discotheque, a nightclub, owned by a dear friend of mine, Tony Zivanaris. It was a place called the Top Deck, which is still open. Anyway, his office was close to my apartment, so when the club was closed, calls went through his office. And when I got back, well, number one, after the audition, the guys asked me if I'd stay in London overnight and go in and meet the management the next day, where I was grilled, of course. Do you have any sex offenses? Do you have a passport? Do you have, we are an altar boy, But so I was having a drink with Roger that night, and he was going, "You know what, David? I think you got it. I think you got it. Oh my God, I think you've got it." And we were unbelievably excited. And we were sharing a room, not a bed, but sharing a room with two single beds in this hotel. And my absolute clear memory of that night was, he doesn't have a belly button. Roger, this guy, he'd had surgery years before. It was almost minimal, where he lost his belly button or something. And that's all I could see. It was like a Teletubby before the Teletubbies, bless his heart. And he had to go back because he had a proper job, So I stayed in to meet the management, and then I was taken by one of them, I think Tony Edwards, to King's Cross Station to get the train back to Middlesbrough and ultimately to Redcar, and it was like they had streamers out for me in the apartment building, with "Welcome Home, Superstar," which I'm going, oh, wow. Because I was really confident at that time. I heard nothing the next day. I heard nothing. And I'd spent, I had 20 quid maybe in savings. I was buying everyone, whiskeys and, "Oh, you want Bacardi and Coke? Here you go." Blowing my savings. And then after 4 days, I started to think, I don't think I'm in. So I started to actually come up with excuses why I wasn't going to accept the gig. And that's absolutely true, which was, I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure that music's my cup of tea, And it was almost a week later, Tony Zivanaris' secretary came banging on my door and said, "Deep Purple stuff's on the phone. Deep Purple's management's on the phone." And it was like, one of these things. And I ran across to this office, and Tony, God bless him, had put a bottle of Glenfiddich whiskey, a little higher quality than Bell's, to either celebrate or commiserate. And it was Tony Edwards on the phone, one of the managers of Deep Purple at the time. And I said, "Hello?" And he goes, "Hello, David?" I said, "Yes, yeah. And he goes, "David, it's Tony." And I went, "Oh, hi, Tony. How are you?" "Very well." And I swear to God, he was milking this, And it's just going on and interminable, you know. And Tony Z's like, what? Are you in? You know. And after what seemed like a lifetime, he says, oh, by the way, the boys have asked me to tell you you're in. How soon can you get to London? I went, I'll call you back. Boom, whiskey. Oh my God, I'm in. You know, it was extraordinary. Yeah, it was absolutely extraordinary. But yeah, I was making excuses to people. You know, I'm not quite sure about this when I never heard anything immediately. Oh God, I was so keen. I wrote maybe four, at least four, maybe more lyrics for what ultimately became Burn. Burn was one of the lyrics, the sci-fi poem. I've never done that before, and that's the one Richie, of course, adored. You know, and the one that's on the actual song now. I had a version which John Lord and I would laugh about for many years when we were warming up for shows. Burn, I had a lyric called The Road. You know, take me down the road, you know, which was highly amusing. But the lyrics were good, very blues-based lyrics, and that was cool. I remember writing, up all night, writing the lyrics to the song Sail Away. And, you know, in those days, I had this feeling that everything had to be done after midnight, you know, when there was minimal distraction or whatever. And I'd been up literally all night writing this Sail Away, which I thought was one of the best lyrics I'd written. And I'd literally just got into bed and my phone started ringing in the hotel. And I pick up the phone going, what is it? I've just gone to bed. Leave it. Photo shoot or something like this. And I went, no, put the phone off. And the phone kept ringing until I threw it against the wall and, you know, smashed it or whatever. Then there's banging at my door as I'm drifting off to sleep. And yeah, I was furious. And we looked at some of the pictures when we were doing the video shoot of Sail Away. They're in Dee Dee Zill's book on the history of Deep Purple, photographic history. And we're, you know, taking up some mountain at ridiculous time in the morning to catch morning mist and stuff. And we all look like poop. You know, but particularly me. Not my favorite session. And it's the first time Richie and I had unpleasant words with each other, because I'm a Yorkshireman. It's, you know. No, when Glenn, understandably, when Glenn got the gig with Purple before I did, you know, he was the lead singer in his band, Trapeze, and there's no question. I mean, a week before my audition, I borrowed the Trapeze album, You Are the Music, We're Just the Band, and the girl I was seeing at the time and I were listening to it, and I was going, oh my God, you know, this guy's amazing. And I could feel, I looked at this girl and she was looking at me like, I don't know why you're bothering. You know, this guy's amazing, which he and still is, you know. Glenn was absolutely firm, understandably, saying to Deep Purple, "I'm not just an oohs and ahs guy, so I want to do some lead singing too." That was part of the agreement of him joining Deep Purple. And I was fine with that. I was a kid, I think most of what we did, worked amazingly well, and other things would have suited his voice more than mine, So at times, I said, Glenn and I talk all the time, I said, wow, it might have been confusing for some people to hear different voices, but we really took a cue from the amazing Sam and Dave, a 60s soul duo, who shared lead vocals and sang together. It was amazing. I called us the Unrighteous Brothers back then. There was no question of Glenn and I do amazing choir at the end of it, which Richie had mixed down because, of course, he thought it compromised the guitar solo he was doing on the outro. But I remember Glenn, John, Martin Birch, the producer of Purple, and I just putting the lights off in the studio and listening to, I think Glenn and I did 8 voices each for this huge choir. And it was chilling to hear. And I actually walked out of the mix when Richie said, "I went, wait till you hear these voices, it's going to be amazing." He said, "Turn them down, I can't hear the guitar." Perfect. And quite right, Blackmore's guitar was, the big sell, really. Oh my God! Well, I'd already been introduced to the frenzy of Deep Purple live shows. We did a under the radar pre-Christmas tour of Scandinavia and Germany. And I mean, this is the balls of Deep Purple. The album wasn't even released, and 2/3 of the show we did were unknown songs. The first show was in Copenhagen in a place called the KB Halle, which sadly recently burned to the ground. But I have pictures of that time. That was amazing. There's a little anecdote for that. I was starting to I could feel everybody's nerves. And I knew one of the managers had no confidence in me. He felt there shouldn't have been a change from Mark II. So I left the dressing room area and I wandered around this theater and found a room upstairs on my own and sat down with my thoughts going, this is it. It's sink or swim time. If this is what you want to do, you better do this. In the meantime, nobody could find me. So the crew and the promoters, personnel were scouring the streets. They thought I'd done a runner. They thought I'd lost my nerve and run off. So when I just jauntily saunter down, everybody goes, "Where the f have you been?" And all this, and I'm going, I was just upstairs, getting vibed for the show. Is everything okay? And everybody's going, ready to burst. But it was a good distraction. And it's the first time ever in my life when I walked on stage, had flashlights showing the way, and hearing the roar of a crowd. I'd never anticipated it, never experienced it before. This was astonishing. And it was probably only about 2,000 or 3,000 people in this place. But it was unbelievable. And I got up to the microphone, and it's the first time, without any thought, I screamed, "Are you ready?" And I'd never planned it. It wasn't part of, anything at all. And surrealistically, as I screamed that, all of these butterflies, nerves, flew out of me, and we kicked ass. During the show, by the way, Richie smashing his guitar, and I'm going, oh my God, I suddenly became a member of the audience, because they didn't do this in rehearsal or in the studio. John Lord's rocking his organ, sounds are going crazy. Ian Pace is trashing his drums, Glenn's knocking over, and I'm going, each time I'm going, oh my God, I haven't got any money or anything. What do I smash? I should be smashing something here. So I looked down and I went, oh my God, cost me £5. I took this tiger's eye ring off and threw it down aggressively and stamped on it. You know, that was my contribution to the excitement level of the end of my first Deep Purple show. And then we had a riot in Bremen, and that was one I was ready to just pack my bags and go. There were rocks and stuff. It was a time when a lot of people felt music should be free. And there were more people outside this arena demanding to be let in. It was completely sold out, but there was another 10,000 people outside who, when they couldn't get in, took to throwing shit, you know. And you were in the dressing room and a rock came through and I'm going, man, I don't want anything to do with this, you know. But, you know, that was an anomaly. That wasn't something that happened all the time. So each step of the way was more and more breathtaking in the adventure of David Coverdale and the amazing Deep Purples. Well, I don't think, basically what I did was look around, like a very basic scenario. I remember I was taken for dinner to an incredibly elegant restaurant in Paris, very early days, and there's like 13 knives and forks on either side of the place, the setting, and I'm going, oh my God. And it was the first time I thought, okay, what do I do? So discreetly I'm looking around and I saw people start on the outside and work their way in. So that was just, I would observe how people behaved and how they did things. And of course, always with me, the music is the major stimulus on how I actually physically perform, you know. So things were being fashioned at the time. But once Burn came out and was extraordinarily successful, everybody in the Purple organization and the band breathed a collective sigh of relief that the success level had been maintained and actually in 1974 exceeded. So, you know, then it was down to fun and games and Bacchanalian, Caesars of Rome, pleasure, fun and games. And that was on stage.